Okay, so um, you might remember from seeing this in class when we worked on it. Um, this is question number 2 from the 2012 macro free response. We're given Metera Bank, Metera. Um, we have this T account, bank balance sheet here, assets on the left, liabilities on the right. Remember that the two sides, assets and liabilities, they have to equal each other. So if we have $100,000 in liabilities, the sum of all of the assets must also be equal to 100,000. Part A wants to know what is the reserve requirement, and so the reserve requirement is simply equal to the required reserves divided by our demand deposits. So 10,000 divided by 100,000 is 10%. So it's the reserve requirement again is the fraction or percentage of demand deposits that the Fed requires banks to keep on reserve. They're not available to be loaned out or to expand via the money multiplier through the bank money creation process. In the next part, B, it says assume that Luis withdraws $5,000 in cash from his checking account at Metera Bank. First of all, they want to know how much will their reserves change based on his withdrawal. So the answer is that their reserves are going to change by $5,000. So this $5,000 in excess reserves is what they actually pay out to Luis. However, after they've paid that to him, their demand deposits now are only $95,000. So required reserves are only going to be $9,500, and that means that $500 that had been part of the required reserves now moves down to be excess reserves. So the short answer is that the reserves changed by $5,000, and as a result of the adjustments between the different categories here, that would look as I now have it. The next part wants to know what is the initial effect of the withdrawal on the M1 measure of money supply, and the answer is that there's no change because M1 includes both cash and demand deposits. So you're simply moving money between different parts of M1, but it's still part of M1, and the overall measure of M1 is left unchanged. The third part of B says, as a result of the withdrawal, what is the new value of excess reserves on the balance sheet of Metera Bank based on the reserve requirement from Part A? And I've already done that for you here. As I said, the demand deposits have dropped by $5,000 with Luis's withdrawal. 10% of that $95,000 means the new required reserves are $9,500 or $9,500, and that would leave $500 from the original $10,000 required reserves that now are excess reserves. The last part of the question wants to ask us that if the next day John comes in and withdraws from the bank an amount greater than the $500 in excess reserves, how can Metera Bank cover that? So the deal is that again, banks don't have a choice. They have to meet that required reserve. When they are short and don't have enough money in required reserves at the end of a day, they can try to borrow that money in the federal funds market from other banks, and failing to be able to borrow the money in the federal funds market from other banks, they can always turn to the Fed itself, because the Fed is our lender of last resort. That's That's it.